What is the financial management strategy for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office? How is it pursuing a hybrid-first workplace model? And what is it doing to innovate the way it operates and does business? I'll explore these questions and so much more with our very special guest, Jay Hoffman, Chief Financial Officer at USPTO. What about your role and duty? What does the CFO actually do at USPTO?
So I like to summarize my primary duty like this. Every day, I am responsible for financing the mission of the USPTO. How do we prioritize, fund, and execute to accomplish the goals and priorities of the agency? With that big picture description as a backdrop, I'm officially the principal advisor to the USPTO director for planning, budget, financial management, and procurement matters, including the operation of our financial systems. I'm also designated the head of contracting authority for the USPTO, and I oversee the implementation of a number of statutes, including the CFO Act, the Federal Managers Financial Integrity Act, the Federal Financial Management Improvement Act, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and of course the Government Performance and Results Act. And then lastly, I serve on a departmental council of the other CFOs across the Department of Commerce on their CFO council.
Now we get into the real meat of it. Given your portfolio, given the role and responsibility, your leadership role and responsibility at USPTO, I was wondering, Jay, what are your top management challenges that you face in this role, and how have you sought to address those challenges?
Well, I can think of three big ones. The first challenge that comes to mind is how to lead the CFO organization at the USPTO in a post-pandemic, post-COVID work paradigm. The expectations of work are definitely changing. People are rethinking their career priorities. I think in the news we saw that September, August, November, December had the largest resignations on history across the U.S. as people sort of rethink what they want their careers to be. At some point, all of this will end, we hope, and we will be in a situation where possibly we return to our physical work locations, but I don't think it'll ever be the same. We'll have people that are working remotely, we'll have people that are working in the office, and that'll change day to day. Quite frankly, the old ways of working probably aren't going to work anymore, and I don't think employees really want that or will tolerate it. I think the days of office meetings conducted via conference calls, those are largely over, and I think a hybrid mindset in everything we do is really going to be the new order. The second big challenge that really occupies a lot of my mind space is the next generation CFO workforce. I'm sure, and having listened to your program and talking with my colleagues over the years, that decision support analysis is a growing area. The tools are largely there. You're seeing increasing robotics, increasing analytic tools, but I do think there is a difference between understanding data analysis and problem solving, and I think that'll be a real growth area and challenge area for CFOs moving forward is making that pivot to high level analysis. And then the third challenge that keeps me up at night is really the future of acquisition, the future of procurement. Procurement by its nature is a highly regulated, high education requirement, high continuous learning requirement function. And there's really a limited supply of procurement talent that's out there. It's a niche field, and there's a lot of competition among agencies. I would also note, though, that there's a real mismatch between the speed of everyday business and the speed of federal acquisition. In our everyday lives and our everyday business, people have the ability to do things super fast, and everything's at our fingertips. People have a personal expectation that work can be done almost instantaneously with their smartphone. Maybe they do a meeting, they quickly transition and do online shopping, they make a phone call to a foreign country, they get a response in real time via text message, they can transfer and share information via the cloud, they can exchange money on platforms like Venmo. And the acquisition paradigm in the federal government is largely disconnected from that pace. Largely disconnected from that sort of rhythm that happens in our everyday lives. Lots of people love the product availability and competitive pricing on platforms like Amazon.com. Well, where is Amazon.gov for the billions of standard buys that the government does? Supplies, audit, support service. Where's the Priceline.gov or the eBay.gov for real-time auctions? From my chair, I can't revolutionize acquisition, but I do think it's a conversation that needs to happen at a U.S. government level, and there's a real opportunity for transformational change.
And it's a great transition into understanding the vision you have for your office and the strategic priorities that frame that vision. Jay, could you explain to us or highlight for us some of those priorities?
So our vision for the CFO organization at the USPTO reads like this. We want to be a strategic business partner you can count on. And so what does fulfilling that vision look like? It's an organization that consistently delivers for our business partners, both internally at the USPTO and externally, be it our fee-paying customers, the Department of Commerce, the Office of Management and Budget, Congress, the general public. We have 5 overarching goals that guide the CFO organization at the USPTO. The first goal is resource the mission. That's our number one job, is to figure out how to finance the mission requirements and finance the agency for mission success. Our second goal is to identify and mitigate risk. We want to have sound internal controls, accurate financial transactions and reporting, and secure financial systems that support integrity of operations. Our third goal is to enable sound decisions. We've talked a lot about that already. We want to provide good data, quality financial analysis on a range of enterprise decisions. It's really providing that enterprise analysis that underpins a lot of our CFO strategy. Our fourth goal is to deliver effective services, and this is the CFO's bread and butter, whether it's USPTO or any other agency. This is our day-to-day operations. We want to deliver quality budgets, great financial reporting, quality procurements, and robust financial systems that help us do our jobs more efficiently. And lastly, our fifth goal is to cultivate the CFO talent pipeline. We want to take care of our people. We want to build the next generation CFO workforce. And right now, we are doing that with a particular focus on pivoting to a post-COVID hybrid first working paradigm.
Jay, I was wondering, as a follow-up, are there any specific internal drivers or external trends that kind of shaped or informed your strategy?
Well, yes. So PTO is a demand-driven organization. The level of work the agency performs is largely based on the number of people that are out there filing patent applications or filing trademark applications. And our filers pay for each application, for each service that they engage the agency in, and that gets translated into a revenue stream. So our demand for services is largely driven on a number of economic factors, such as gross domestic product, venture capital investment, research and development spending, and others. And all of this tells us how much work we can expect to come in the door over the next several months. So we're looking at all of that, and we're also monitoring our business operations. How quickly are applications getting examined? What are the quality of those examinations? What is the remaining inventory to be examined? And so on and so forth. Collectively, this creates a set of vital signs similar to your pulse, temperature, and blood pressure. And we're looking at all of these trends in real time to manage and adjust the business.
How has your agency's investment in automating its contracting workflow, how has it paid dividends given most of the workforce is still working from home?
As I alluded to when you asked me about sort of what does the CFO organization do, the USPTO procurement operation is a sneaky big office. We procured, as I said, more than $1 billion in goods and services for the first time in our history last year. As we just discussed, we have a very complicated information technology challenge, And that means the buys and the support that we're giving that organization are also complicated. So the USPTO began efforts to automate our procurement workflow in earnest way before my arrival, all the way back in 2013, 2014. And those investments were to sort of be more efficient, but also respond to customer feedback. So for example, the customer really wants to have visibility into contract status. This is a big customer need. Where is my contract at in the process? Investing in the automation of our contracting workflow also included things like, being able to sign things electronically, being able to move that entire paper process to an electronic process, an electronic workflow. And with this automated capability that came online just in time, I would add, we can truly do procurement from anywhere. We brought our automated procurement system online in FY 2019. So by the time COVID arrived on the scene in 2020 and caused us to move to a situation where people are working from home, the system really made that transition to fully virtual operations seamless. Procurement continued to have uninterrupted service while contract specialists telework full time. They were able to do their jobs at home. And I think the hidden magic of the system is that it's really, in the long run, it's going to change the way that we do procurement. It's going to unlock our ability to make the procurement organization a national organization, an organization with a national workforce. And I think we're getting to a point, hopefully in the not too distant future, where we're offering the opportunity to work for the USPTO in our procurement operation from anywhere in the United States. And it's this e-acquisition system that's going to make that possible. You can work for the USPTO procurement headquarters operation, and you can do that job from Oklahoma.
Speaking of workforce, you mentioned earlier that telework is no stranger to USPTO, is a trailblazer in the federal space around telework. And what I'd like to talk about is your or the agency's hybrid first work arrangement approach. Can you tell us more about what that is, what that means? How are you doing it in your office? And what are the advantages of this new work paradigm?
Well, thank you for that. As I had told you before our interview, this is the topic that I'm the most excited to talk to you about and talk to your listeners about. Going back to probably 4 or 5 months after the whole COVID pandemic started back in 2020, I came to realize that when the pandemic ended, whenever that was, there were going to be two kinds of agencies, two kinds of businesses. The first kind is those that were going to offer full-time telework after the pandemic ended. The second type were those businesses or agencies that were going to offer full-time telework after the pandemic ended. They just don't know it yet. And we intended to be the former, to have a hybrid first CFO organization on the first day of a post-COVID work world, whenever that may be. And it starts with a vision that work is what you do. It's not where you do it. And once you you wrap your head around that, then you can start working on some of the challenges of hybrid work. And I think one of the big challenges that I hear from my employees is this fear of missing out. Some workers, they don't really want to return to a traditional office setting, but they also don't want to miss out on career opportunities because they're working at home while a colleague maybe is working in the office. They don't want to be out of sight, out of mind. With that in mind, this is the commitment that I've made to my workforce, the hybrid first commitment that I've made to my workforce. We will provide the same work experience every day to every employee, regardless of where you choose to work. Whether you're working in our headquarters building, whether you're working in Hawaii, whether you're sitting in a conference room with me, whether you're sitting on a beach. We want you to have the same work experience every day, regardless of where you choose to work. And this requires that I have, and that my management team has, a hybrid first mindset, understanding that on any given day, half of our employees may be in the office, half of our employees may be out of the office, but we need to assume that every employee is virtual. We need to ask ourselves, what are the technologies that we need to be successful in a hybrid first environment? What work processes do we need to have put in place? How do we set expectations for conducting meetings and engaging our people? And we're not waiting until there's a mass return to the office. We are right now, as we speak, outfitting our managers' offices, our conference rooms with the tools and technologies that we need to work virtually going into the future. We cannot go back to the days of the conference calls and the in-person meetings. That's simply not going to happen. We expect that 95% of our positions in the CFO organization going forward are going to be eligible to telework 5 days a week. This is after COVID. And we're looking to go even further. We're looking to allow positions to work remote, where people can relocate out of the Washington, D.C. area where it makes sense. But it's not a one size fits all. Just because you can telework doesn't mean that you have to telework. And we're giving our managers a lot of flexibility in how they implement this. At the end of the day, I think it's going to give us a huge advantage in terms of recruitment and retention.
This has been the Business of Government Hour, a conversation with Jay Hoffman, Chief Financial Officer at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Be sure to join us next time for another informative, insightful, and in-depth conversation on improving government leadership and its effectiveness. Until then, subscribe, download, and listen to the entire interview at Podcast One, iTunes, or on your favorite podcast app. And as always, at businessofgovernment.org.